What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ice House from the DCUO commentary. Today I'm going to be bringing you my Post-Update 17 mental loadout guide. This guide is mostly going to be about controlling here. There's lots of different things you can do with DPSing now. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do with DPSing now. I know there's a lot of people who got some complaints and everything about certain things that you can't do with mental now, but I mean, mental's become far more useful, far more versatile. Not so much cookie cutter. And it's stacking right up there with gadgets as far as versatility and being useful and the damage and everything. I have yet to test anything out in PvP, but I know PvE is where a lot of people have a lot of their issues with controlling in alerts and raids and stuff. So I wanted to go ahead and get this out to you guys because this is the role. I mean, DPS can be figured out fairly easily, but for some reason, people have a hard time figuring out how to do their main roles: tanks, controls, healing, and everything. But this is what I'm looking at right now for mental controlling. This is by far my favorite loadout to use. It may not be a very popular one. I'll I'll admit that right now. Some people are probably going to flame me for this loadout, but the way I've been using it, and which I'll show you here later in the video, it shows to me that you can do multiple things with this loadout. You can do power over time, you can do debuffs, you can keep getting power out to your group, and you can help out with the crowd control. All right, that's right there. Those are the four things that you got to do with or three things rather you got to do with controlling in raids and alerts is power over time, crowd control, power out to your group, and debuffs. Okay, so four things. Yeah, four things. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this loadout here. Now, I went through and I've done a raid on two different specs that I've tested out. Yeah, I know I only got 55 skill points. Shoot me. I don't care. This is my alt. I'm not grinding feat points with this guy. But this is the loadout that I like the best. I've done like either a full illusion or a full TK loadout, and I by far like the illusion tree the most for controlling. So because the only debuffs that you have for we'll take a look here real quick at the powers. The only debuff you have in the TK tree is for defense is thought bubble. Well, that encases two enemies, and when they've got that encasement, they basically got a shield. So it's not a very popular one. I mean, if you hit them with thought bubble and then you hit them with something like psychic resonance, which is like a cone push out and everything, you'll burst that encasement, but you won't. That takes time, and that's time that those targets are not getting damaged while they're in those encasements. So I'm not a big fan of it anymore. I do like it. It's very useful for certain parts of raids, like especially prime with the healer drones and such. But when you've got a lot of high DPS in there who can burn those things down pretty quick, you're impeding them on doing that, especially if they don't have a power that does extra damage to encasements that can break those encasements themselves. So and when you're dealing with pugs, it's a very rare thing to have. If you get a coordinated group with your league and everything, you can make something like that happen. But so I mostly spec into all the illusions tree. Obviously, TK, you got to spec at least 2 power points into it to get psychic empowerment. That's the basis right there. You have to have psychic empowerment if you're controlling. All right. For the loadout though that I use here is mostly out of the illusions tree, and I know people who are going to flame me on a couple of things on it at least. Terror tendrils, obviously you want to use terror tendrils. It's a cone effect, does damage, inflicts terror on enemies vulnerable to terrified power interactions, so it's a good POT move. As much as I miss TK, I'm using terror tendrils now. Simply because of the power interactions that you get with terror. Okay, because you inflict terror on somebody and then you hit them with phantom flames. All right, phantom flames is the defense debuff. Terrified enemies take additional damage. I know doing damage isn't really necessarily your main concern, as a controller, but it helps. It really does help. Plus, if you've got mental DPS in there and everything, he's going to be doing extra damage on him too, and it just works all the way around. I believe Hardlight also does extra damage on terrified or panicked enemies as well. But Phantom Flames is a good one. You will inflicts burning to cause damage over time. You can also debuffs their defenses, and it hits multiple targets. Now here's one that's the next one here is probably the one I'm going to get a lot of on, and you'll see why I use this here later in this video. Masthair. Now this is a area of effect. It's AOE power. All right, inflicts debilitating fear and damages multiple enemies. This will stun and panic. All right, enemies. It inflicts terror to make enemies vulnerable to terrified power interactions, which helps out with your Phantom Flames. But the reason why I use Masthair is my crowd control. This is my main crowd control power, especially if I'm not the one giving POT, which I wasn't the one doing POT in this raid that I'm going to be showing you. So I was using Masthair to get terror, to terrify enemies out there. I mean, I wasn't doing a lot in open areas, but in hallways, like the gates right that I'm about ready to show you, that hallway there in gates works wonders on crowd control effects. All right, there's other hallways too that this will work wonders on in raids and stuff. How this will work in a raid like Prime, I don't know. I mean, would it be good to use this to slow down those healer drones? I don't know. We'll have to see. That's something I hope to be able to test out someday. Obviously, I've got Grandeur in here. Every once in a while, that you end up getting aggro from an ad or something like that, and you need a little freedom from any control effects, and you get the aggro off of you onto somebody else. You pop your Grandeur. Obviously, psychic empowerment is something you want to use for giving power out, instant power out to your group the whole time. It also increases your might and precision for a short time. So, I mean, if helping to deal damage as a controller is something you want to do, make sure you're using psychic empowerment. And then obviously, the supercharge that I use is Word of Power. Word of Power is 50% supercharge. It's by far the best power out supercharge in this game right now. It's better than Speed Drain is right now. So if you got the extra power points to put into it, I highly suggest you do that. For iconic powers, what you want to spec into, obviously you definitely want to, you get your Word of Power. You definitely want Intimidating Gaze and Wisdom of Solomon. Now I had like 3 extra power points left over, so I went ahead and I went with Tactical Genius and Weapons Expert, to get that extra damage out and everything. And then I just threw a Nano Weave armor on there, just give myself a little extra defense. Not that great a defense boost, but every little bit helps, especially when you get stuck in getting hit with by ads and everything. That's my main loadout right now that I'm using for controlling is these 6 powers right here. Now there is something going on right now that I've been reading a little bit about Invisibility, and that's where you can basically, if you spec into Invisibility here, you can put that in your loadout, okay, and then you can take Invisibility, or you can take a power like Word of Power. You can put in Word of Power in your loadout. Now I have tested this out in regards to being able to cast Word of Power while you're in stealth. It does take you out of stealth, obviously it's going to, but it also cancels the animation out for you, so it may save you a little bit of time and all that. You can be a little bit sneakier about doing it. I have not tested this out. If anybody else out there wants to test it out, feel free. I'm really interested in hearing what your feedback is on that. But it basically gives you access to a completely second loadout bar, which I think is really cool. Now, the other power that we got with the change to Bastion here, the 100% supercharge here. Now this is it's a group shield. Protects yourself, 7 other teammates from damage, and causes enemy attacks to grant you power and deal damage back to your attackers with ethereal telekinetic bubbles. Now, from my understanding, from what other people have tested out and told me, the power out from Bastion does not scale with your VIT, does not scale with your vitalization. So that's why I don't really look at Bastion as being a viable replacement for a power like Word of Power, because as you'll see in this video here, Word of Power does a tremendous amount of power out depending on what your VIT is, and it does do more power out than what Speed Drain does. I mean, I know the animation is long, but like, you know, I'll show you here in this video coming, you know, in the rest of this video coming up here, it is very easily canceled out if you have Psi Empowerment available to you. But that's about it for right now. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what all this does in action. Alright, we'll be right back. Okay, and as the Joker says, here we go. Alright, so what I want to show you guys here, and with this clip right here, is show you some of the effects of Masthair on a large group area. It's like right there, I hit it and they panic. Now I know the bounders, they tend to bounce around willy-nilly and anyways on this part, but it does. Masthair will panic and it will scare the ads, and I know a lot of people aren't really fans of that because you can tend to tanks can tend to lose aggro because of it. AOE they tend to be able to escape AOE effects, damage powers from the DPS, and so I mean there are issues with panicking group of ads in a large area like this. That being said, though, it's still, I think, very good for situational purposes. Say you're getting overwhelmed by ads. Perfect example of a spot where this it can be useful for a group is the beginning of FOS2. You get in that first part of FOS2, you go running in there, and the ads, they tend to start swarming on you, right, about halfway through that first area there. I think Masthair is a fantastic thing to use right then and there to help alleviate the damage output by those ads, simply because they're going to be stunned, they're going to be panicked. It's going to take them a few seconds to get freed from those effects, and those few seconds can be extremely useful to a group that is getting overwhelmed and overrun. So for crowd control, Masthair is fantastic in my opinion for this. I know I'll probably end up saying this a few times here throughout this video. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, Masthair, you're a noob. Well, watch the video, give it a chance. Maybe test it out yourself, all right, before you start judging. All right, I mean, I test out loadouts that are suggested to me all the time by other people. Are they very useful? Yes. Are some of them very bad? Yes. But at the same time, I'm willing to try it out. Why don't you guys try it out instead of automatically coming in here and saying that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I mean, I've tested this out. This isn't the first time. I didn't just throw this loadout together and step foot in here. I've tested this loadout out in a couple of situations. So I mean, I know it works, I know it's useful, and I know its benefits, and I know its drawbacks. But you're going to have that with all loadouts. I mean, you go in here with a fire DPS loadout. I'm not to really talk about that, but majority of their heavy hitting powers are all long cast times. There's a huge benefit to it because tremendous amount of damage they can do, and then there's the drawback on it because it takes long cast times for you to be able to use those powers. Same thing can be said for any loadout in this game. Benefits and drawbacks. Benefit of this loadout here that I'm using is it covers all four of the controller's primary jobs, which is providing a power over time to the group, providing at least a defense debuff on ads and bosses, providing instant power out to the group with your powers like Psi Empowerment, Defib, Recharge, and crowd control. Those are the 4 biggest jobs a controller has. And all I'm trying to show everybody here with this loadout is that a loadout can be put together and it can successfully be done to have a controller who does all 4 of those jobs. I mean, granted, this raid right here, I'm not doing power over time because the other controller has a higher vitalization than I do. So his power over time is going to be more than mine. So I'm not casting Terror Tendrils here. So because I'm not going to step on his power over time. Granted, the controller I was with was not very consistent on keeping that power over time out for everybody. But, you know, I didn't want to, you know, cast it, you know, at the same time he went to recast his to get back out there and then step on him. So, the only thing you can do in a situation like that where you have a controller who's not consistent in keeping power over time out is just say, hey, you know, power over time, POT, need POT, you know, and 9 times out of 10 they're going to do it. So just keep that in mind. You know, if you're not, you know, doing power over time, make sure you don't step on the other controller's power over time. So, I mean, here's a loadout right here that has all 4 of the, main tasks that a controller has to do, or that can provide, you know, in this loadout. And that's why I'm showing it to you guys. Yeah, it's probably not the best, you know, crowd controlling loadout. It's probably not the best, you know, debuff loadout. You know, I don't have a damage debuff in there. You know, the other controller had that. Let him do it. So, I mean, I wasn't really that concerned. But, I mean, you know, as far as, you know, taking, you know, debuffing the damage, I mean, it's very useful, don't get me wrong. But it's not a priority. It's not a priority. The priority is debuffing the defense. That way your DPSs can burn them down faster. So that's why you want to make sure you have that. Crowd control. Masthair is tremendous for crowd control. It's far better than Mass Levitate is. I'll tell you that right now. Mass Levitate has a long cast time. I mean, it does, when you hit your targets with it, it works fantastically. But it's not something I really recommend for controlling. So because you're not keeping yourself mobile, because of the cast time, it seems like it's more of a damage power, you know, that DPS would use. So, you know, it's not something that you really have time, you know, in a lot of these raids in order to, you know, and especially, you know, alerts, because where you're going to be the only controller, you don't have the time to cast it. You know, there's no time to wait for that cast time to finish out. So I mean, crap. I mean, half the time I don't even really feel like waiting for my trinket to animation activation. When I activate my trinket, I don't feel like waiting for that animation to finish out. So I clip it with freaking Psi Empowerment. Why? Because, you know, I want to be able to stay mobile, keep moving, you know, stay fluid with what's going on in the content that I'm in. So, I mean, yeah, so that's why, you know, I highly prefer Masthair. I mean, yeah, you got the panic, you know, the ends tend to scatter and all that, but the 2 or 3 seconds that you know, in an open area like this at least, but, you know, the 2 or 3 seconds that you can buy your group to adjust, you know, and settle in to the new circumstance of all these ads being there all of a sudden is tremendous. I mean, it's a lot of help. And, you know, of course, you know, I've got, you know, the Word of Power in there that, you know, you use for instant power out to the group, you know, supercharge there. I mean, it's like I've said this several times before, and I'm going to keep preaching it until people start, you know, paying attention and using it. I know it costs an extra power point. It may be a power that, you know, for a power point that you don't want to sacrifice, but if you can do it, I highly recommend you use Word of Power over Speed Drain. It's just the power out is a lot better. So, I mean, I really suggest you use that instead. But, you know, I mean, if you're super speed and you've got access to the skill points and all that, you know, by all means, you know, if you prefer Speed Drain, use Speed Drain. This clip right here, I want to show you right here especially for all the people who this may be their first time going in to this raid here. You're on the first boss fight here. If you are the secondary controller. You're the controller who's not doing power over time. It is your job to go and reload these spears. You can find them. There will be arrows that will be pointing at where they are at on the mini map, as you'll see up here in the top right corner. Here I screwed up a little bit right here. I hung around there too much. I should have gone straight over there to load up that other spear. And instead, I get pulled. And it slowed us down right here. We're a little bit worried about that statue going down before I get the spear to it. But yeah, I get the spear there, and it worked out for us. So no big deal really. Just slowed us down some time a little bit there. So, but I went straight over to get the other spear instead. I was like, because I'm not going to stay there and debuff that bird. I'm just going to go load the spears up. Once you get this third statue loaded up here with the spears, you'll see here in a second. That should be the last statue you have to load up, if so long as none of the statues got dropped. And after that, it's just your basic tank and spank on that last boss. This hallway here is where I'm going to show you where Masthair is fantastic. This hallway here can be very tricky. It could be very difficult, especially for newer players who are maybe stepping foot in here the first time. You see right there, I cast Masthair on all those ads and stunned them all. Newer groups, not prepared for that, could get wiped in this hallway. So this is where a crowd control power like Masthair, that one that doesn't encase them and make it so you can't do any damage to them, and one that prevents them from attacking everybody in your group, is a fantastic power to use, especially in a small area like this, because they're not really going to get far out of any AoE attacks that may be going on from your DPSs. Your tank's most likely not going to lose aggro on them as much as it is in an open area. And like I said, it buys the group time. It buys the group time to be able to get the adjust to all the ads and all that and deal with them. It helps to set up everything. Not to mention, you get that terror power interaction on them, then you hit them with Phantom Flames, it does extra damage. So there's that. It's like I said, controllers, you guys don't want to be just a battery. This is a good loadout for that. You're still being a battery, but you're also doing your job of debuffing and crowd controlling. Everybody else that doesn't play controller, keep all that in mind. You got at least two characters, two players in your raid group that can do 4 different jobs. And if they've got the skill points for it, they could do up to 5 jobs. That 5th job being dealing extra damage. And that's where your power interactions come into. Terrified enemies take extra damage from Phantom Flames. There you go. And I'm pretty sure it works out the same way with Hardlight. I believe also panics. Can panic enemies. Guess what? They've got power interactions too with Terrified. I'm pretty sure. So, like I said, diversify. Be malleable. Be versatile. And that's I think what they've really done well with this update to these powers. I was taking a look at gadgets too, which I've got a lot more looking at gadgets to do with my tune. He's only got like 35 skill points on him, and you'll probably see me doing an alert with him instead of a raid, because I don't really have that great controller gear on him either. But right there, I wanted to cast that Masthair on that group. I wanted to see how many of those ads I could hit, and I hit damn near every single one of them. So again, an awesome crowd control. Here we are. We're going to be going up against this boss right here. If they ever decide to talk to Wonder Woman, are they going to? Please talk to her. I don't know why people do this. Let's go. Let's get through here. Drives me nuts. But what is taking so long for them to speak to her? Come on, people. It gives me a chance, okay, somebody went there and got that treasure box, so yeah, I don't know what it is. This group was like, okay, let's everybody take a break, You know, I'm like, come on. I just wanted to get through this so bad. Well, as far as like mental DPSing is concerned, I've got some ideas for loadouts. I've had some suggestions given to me for a loadout for it. One of which, you know, I mean, it's this one. This is a pretty high. What I would, you know, gather is more of a high might build for DPSing with mental, and you know the powers, you know, are pyrokinesis, Masthair, phantom flames, grandeur, and terrorize. I also highly recommend you put menace in there. If you've got space available, you know, you can, you know, put word of power in there. Bolt barrage is still very close range, you know, from what I've seen. So it's not one that I immediately recommend for PvE at least. And you know, you've got mass hysteria there, which honestly, I mean it's still 100% supercharged. I don't really think it's worth it, to be honest with you. You know, and then I've spoken about Bastion being it's a having a huge group shield like that is fantastic, but at the same time it's 100% supercharged. The power out that you get from it does not scale with your VIT, so I mean it's not, in my opinion, a useful replacement for word of power or speed drain. But yeah, so you know, and of course, you know, you got Terrorized, which, you know, is your 35% health or below damage modifier power. So, you know, blast away with them on that when you get below 35%. That's you know, the final ruin or impaling thorns of mental now. And I've done some testing with that. You can cancel. I mean, it doesn't have a cast time, but it does have an animation. Cast animation, and you can clip that with powers like Psi Empowerment to cancel the animation on there, and you still get the second tick of damage. So there's a little tip right there. I know a lot of DPS, you know, may not want to run with Psi Empowerment in their loadout to cancel that out, but you know, Psi Empowerment, like I've said before, it does give you a you know, small increase. You know, I mean, not huge, but it does give a small increase to your might and precision. So there, you know, I'm pretty sure that's for like 3 seconds. So I mean, it can be very useful, especially if you're, you know, wanting to clip animations, you know, like, you know, with Terrorize. So just keep that in mind. Don't, you know, test it out. You know, see what you guys think. And in regards to that, we come up here on this boss fight here, right here. You know, obviously, you know, you want to be careful. You know, I'm more used to tanking here, so a lot of the tells that I see are a lot closer, so I catch them faster, and I'm able to react to them here. I'm going to get, you know, one shot here in a second. I'm almost positive, and have to get picked up here, but that's basically because I wasn't paying attention. It's like right there, as that's when I started seeing all that coming out of there. That's when I should have blocked or hit Grandeur. Grandeur would have been a better choice, because it would have completely blocked all the damage out. And for some reason, people are slow to pick other people up in this game, in this group. I don't know why, but all in all, I mean, this was a good group. The healers, I think, were spamming their powers a little bit too much. Especially when people's bars were full, they didn't really need to. DPS was very good. We had, you know, great DPS. You know, getting a very good burn. Gadgets player, like I said, you know, he was not consistent in keeping power over time out. You know, I mean, there were times where he kept it up the whole time, and there were times where he, you know, he just kind of didn't. You know, then of course, you know, you got this boss fight here. It's a simple tank and spank. For some reason, though, get these, you know, some, you know, players, you know, they want to go in there hard, you know, and try and burn real fast and all that, and they don't pay attention to the tells and get one shot, as you'll see here towards the end of the boss fight. I was actually surprised it only happened once, though, to be honest with you. This group, and also, you know, I have yet to see this new mission thing or whatever drop from this boss fight. I'm pretty sure it's this boss fight it's supposed to drop from, and where you're supposed to be able to get a head style. You get a mission to get the head style or whatever. I've yet to see this drop in here yet, and I've only run it a few times though since the update. But like I said, I've yet to see it, and I'm kind of curious what everything looks like. Let me know if you guys have gotten it out of here yet. But coming up into this boss fight right here, and I'm going to take we're going to go in there and do the Avatar of Magic, where I'm going to talk a little bit about that boss fight in there with this loadout. Because honestly, I was actually kind of depressed that something didn't happen in here, so I could have shown it to you, but it was beneficial towards the group while we were doing this raid, because it didn't happen. But in this boss fight, there's a tendency, there's a good chance where he's going to cast or summon in the astral ads, the astral guardian and such. That is a situation where Masthair is shining for this. So when I first tested this loadout out, it happened in the gates raid that I was in. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in here, so I can show it to you guys. But when those astral lions and the astral guardian got spawned in, I immediately hit Masthair, and it froze them all and panicked them for a couple of seconds there, which bought my entire group a couple extra seconds to adjust and be able to deal with that. That is the essence of crowd control, and that's why they call us controllers. Alright, because we control the situation. We control the effectiveness of the ads. We control how much power is going out to the group. We control the buffs that are on the bosses and the ads. So we are able to debuff their defense or their healing in, which some bosses you have to do that with, and their damage output, how well they can do damage. But somebody was on fire, we couldn't get that guy up right away. But like again, right here is a situation I was talking about before with the controller. I don't know what he was doing. I mean, he was just standing there. He wasn't being consistent with the power out, and but being the team player that I was not going to step on his POT when he did get it out. So I mean, I should have reacted sooner to this and all that. I should have drank a soda and popped Word of Power and hit Silent Empowerment and everything, so I could get power out to the group, because we were really low. But unfortunately, like I said, a lot of these guys, we're pretty good, and wasn't a flawless run, but it was still a good run. We got done in we got it done in. No, we didn't get the speed feat. We didn't get done fast enough to get the speed feat on here. But I mean, that happens. I'm pretty sure I already got the speed feat on this tune anyways for it, so it's not that big of a deal. I am, however, though, I mean, I know this isn't going to be a popular loadout. I know there's going to be people who are coming in here and saying, you're a noob, you're an idiot, this loadout's garbage. And there's going to be people, but half those people are going to come in here and they're not going to give any suggestions for what their loadout is, because they're arrogant douchebags. But that's okay, because I know there's going to be people out there who do have suggestions for the loadouts, or at least want to say what their loadout is. So I highly encourage you guys to do that in the comments below. I'm really interested to hear what your input is about this loadout here. Like, again, keep in mind, this loadout that I use for it is to do all 4 of the main jobs. I mean, so I don't blast power out as quickly as some controllers do. I don't hit all the debuffs onto a boss in the middle of a boss fight, and I'm not doing nothing but pure crowd control either. But this is basically, this loadout covers all 4 of the main roles: power out, power over time, damage debuff, crowd control. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is a very good loadout for a controller who's wanting to do these things. I'm interested in hearing what you guys' loadouts are. What your experience with Mentalist. How do you like it? What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. I'm I'm really liking Mental a lot more than I did before. I mean, I loved Mental before for controlling PvE. Now I'm really loving it a lot more. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do so by giving it a thumbs up or giving it a favorite. Share the video wherever you share things at and all that. Let other people see it. If you liked it, and if you guys haven't done so already, please subscribe. Until next time, you all take care. Bye.